I think the fourth official on that occasion maybe got just a little bit too excited. Must have known that the Masters is around the corner.
If he was sort of in a team that was motoring and doing well, imagine what he's capable of.
I feel like they're lucky to be in a finals position.
Hello and welcome A-League fans back to the A-League Downloads presented by Isuzu Ute. We had a little break, but we are back, people, and we are happy to have a big show today. It is going to be a big talking point around some key games. Macarthur topple the Jets. Wellington get their first win in Melbourne in 9 years. Can you believe that? And Patrick Kisnorbo has finally taken charge of Sydney FC. I'm your host, Jake Barker-Daish, and joined, as always, over 50 caps for the Socceroos, Archie Thompson.
Jakey.
Over 100 for Denmark, Thomas Sorensen. Guys, big episode. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. We've seen the run into the World Cup and a few things, but now we've got the run into the finals, and there's plenty going on in the A-League.
Yeah, and a lot to kind of go through in regards to who's going to finish first. That's up for discussion. Definitely six as well in this episode. But Archie, I guess we'll start with you on some bangers of the week because, maybe Thomas. We'll start with you because that's what we spoke about backstage. But Auglah, he's been lighting up the league since he's come in, and this was a wonderful free kick, Thomas.
Yeah, we've had him on the show plenty of times. You know, he's the man for the spectacular. And this is another cracking strike. You know, he's really been a great signing. 3 goals up until this point, and Laval as well has been a bit of energy up front. I still question a little bit. There's a split wall, and Matty Sutton is sort of stuck behind the two on the left and can't probably see the ball early enough to get there. But take nothing away from this strike.
Yeah, he's been a superstar. And then a wonderful finish as well out in Adelaide with Felipe Gallegos.
Yeah.
Archie, this is brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. And probably the game of the round, I think. And when you look at where both of these teams are, but that's a wonderful delivery and an amazing finish from Gallegos. But there was actually another one just after this where he almost made another spectacular goal. But this one, Thomas, we were talking about it because sometimes in this position, some strikers or some players will try to go for the laces, but this one he's gone the instep where you have a little bit more control, but he's hit that really well and there's not too much that Smith's could do there.
It's a great one for the kids as well, just to use the pace of the cross.
You don't need to generate anything, you just tap it in.
Yeah. And for those wondering how I get ready to bring the hosting to you on this show, Felipe Gallegos and Auglah, they're my Ron Burgundy words that I use to show just to get going. But nonetheless, Marcus Younis, he had a big day out in his game on the weekend against Western Sydney Wanderers. He was practically involved in everything. Some good, some bad, some ugly. Let's have a look at it.
Yeah, you can definitely see the energy he brings. I think he's been a great signing. Good layoff out to Kuhn, who, I think it's been a while since he's scored. He's been off with injury, and then he has a bit of luck as well, actually.
Yeah, and this is what he's been doing so great is he makes so many smart runs, like we talked about with that energy. Here is that red card. Look,
let's discuss it.
I don't think it's a red card. I mean, he doesn't see the guy.
Yeah, as you can see here, the referee's gone over to the fourth official, who's actually made the decision for the ref that this needs to be a second yellow. We all spoke earlier. We're all in agreement that we don't think that was a second yellow.
No, I don't think because there's no malice in it. He doesn't know the players behind him. He's trying to control the ball that's coming his way, and then the player that's coming through. Okay, he clips his foot, but I think. The fourth official on that occasion maybe got just a little bit too excited. Must have known that the Masters is around the corner, as we're excited, bro.
Yeah, you're in the group.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't control yourself, and but then he's called the ref over and said, okay, that's another bookable offence, and you would think, okay, he's on a yellow already, maybe we should not let it. I think it's a discussion that didn't need to be had. And the thing is that now Younis is missing out on a massive game, Central Coast against City, where you look at the context of who's making the finals, could be big, and he's such a big part of why City are in this position.
Well, Macarthur have thrown a cat amongst the pigeons in the title race. They took over a great result against Newcastle, guys. They've beaten 2 of the best teams in the last couple of weeks. They're showing some signs. They're starting to solidify themselves in the 6, if you can jump to that conclusion. But Thomas, I'll start with you. A great performance by them. They've had a bit of a rocky road this season, but it seems like they're finding some form on the back end.
Yeah, and I think, especially the guys up front, there's been a few changes But there, you got obviously Mitch Duke had a great game. You know, you saw the finisher that he is, and I think Duran has really come into his own. You know, the physicality. We saw him score a great goal against Auckland. He's got another one, this weekend. And when you got that firepower up front, you're a challenge for anyone. And it looks like they've put it together at the right time, because now they're in that four-way battle, and really it's in their hands, to make the finals. And
that header that I know that a lot of people are talking about the World Cup, and it was very much similar to that. But I don't know how he heads it that way. Like, you can see the ball coming, and he's headed that way, and it's curled to the back post. I think that was just an incredible finish. But with Macarthur, I think the way they started the season almost kind of gave them still the opportunity to come strong in the back end, because I know they did a lot of travelling, and that middle part of the A-League season, their performances were shocking. I mean, like, they just didn't turn up. The last couple of games, you could see the intensity of how they start games has been amazing. And, with Mitch Duke, I know that Mile Sturjovski said after the game that they should take him to the World Cup. He's definitely someone that they're probably missing in that nine role. I think if he keeps continuing the way he does, I think at the moment I don't see there's a Socceroo that's maybe doing the things that Mitch Duke is doing right now. We saw with the games just previously with the Cameroons and Curacao. I always forget that. Well, it's only a small country, 150,000. I mean,
it's incredible how they're even there.
It's amazing, but and they're actually a very good football team. I watched them play, man. They were great, but I didn't see anything in there that excited me as much as what maybe a Mitch can do. And he said after the game that he doesn't know where he stands, but I'm going to give it everything I can to make it, because it's going to be probably my last World Cup. I don't know if I'm going to be part of the Socceroo setup again. So there's a lot for him to accomplish from this season. Yeah,
Thomas, just quickly, as to Archie's point, 10 games, 4 goals, 3 assists. He had a bit of not a slow start, but then he had a little slow period, and now he's picking back up. Archie, for those for the long time download this, he hadn't even played a minute at Macarthur, and Archie goes, he'll win the Golden Boot. So we know he's a big fan. Archie makes some great points, because he offers you not just goals, but this whole defensive work rate, a player that you can rely on at international level to be consistent, keep the ball, and so forth. Something that maybe we don't have solidified outside of Moture as a number 9.
Yeah, and I think a World Cup squad allows you, a plan A and a plan B and a plan C, because you've got that massive squad. And so, he might not have to play, but you might end up in a situation where you're chasing a game, you need someone in the box. And, we even talked about, Harrison Sawyer at one point, just having that player that offers something different, and he can offer the physicality and also defensively, set plays and everything else. So, you know what, if he can have a good run, going into finals, going into the end of the season, I think with the experience, I think he should be in the squad.
Well, let us know in the comments. Do you think Mitch Duke should be there for the World Cup? Because the guys make a great point. He's finding form, and do we have a solidified number 9 for the Socceroos? That's still up for debate as well. Guys, I want to get into the title plate race, because that is starting to heat up, and I feel like Auckland now have had a couple of opportunities to capitalise on some Newcastle results where they haven't actually done that. We know the 1-1 game they had with Adelaide on the weekend, but they've dropped points a couple of times now. Arch, I'll go with you first just on this one. I mean, where do you think they are? Because we know how strong they are. Are they sort of tapering for the finals and preparing for what they went through last year, where they're almost perfect and they had one bad game and they were out? I mean, what's sort of your feeling with them?
Well, this is where I think where Mills is going to be tested as a manager, because there's been amazing season for these guys, like incredible. But now, when it comes to the pointy end of the season, when the real stuff starts to happen, and because they're very close to winning a minor premiership, where they haven't done that in a long, long time. So there's a lot of expectation that maybe these younger players are starting to feel, because I don't know if it's the sort of football we've seen Newcastle play the last couple of weeks. I think Clayton Taylor's been a massive loss for them.
Huge.
Yeah, with the way that they go forward. I know that they rested a couple of players. Eli Adams didn't start against Dobson was coming back from the young Socceroos. So, I don't. there's probably been points in the season where we think, okay, this young team, the wheels are probably just going to get a little bit shaky, but this is where you'll get tested. And I still feel like the football that they play is, worthy for them to keep going and hopefully get a minor premiership, because Auckland are close, Adelaide are close. There's a number of teams that could really pip them, but one more good result, and they're there.
Yeah, and just to go through their run home, right? Newcastle's run home. They've got Adelaide at home, Melbourne Victory away, Central Coast at home, Auckland's run home, Melbourne Victory at home, Central Coast at home, Sydney away. Some massive games for both, with a lot on the line. And we're also very much a show where we tend to contest some referee decisions, saying, why was that a red? Why was that a yellow? Well, it's not too many times we're saying, how did this not get a red card? And this was a challenge on the weekend with Hiroki Sakai that brought a lot of controversy, a lot of heated emotions. Let's have a look at this, Thomas. I mean, this was a double-footed lunge off his sort of feet. It's caused a melee. The melee's actually caused more of a sanctions than the actual tackle itself.
Yeah, it seems like this tackle just gets forgotten a little bit in the whole thing. And he's lucky not to injure the player. I think it was, and he follows through as well. And there's no need for it. It's and then why is it not looked at by VAR? Apparently, everyone thought that was a tackle that people were looking at, and then the referee was given the melee, and then was it Gallegos or was it Guillermo who raised his hand, and who cares? There wasn't any punches thrown or anything, and and then this gets missed. Now, we're talking about a safe game. We're talking about protecting players, and then we already touched on Marcus Younis sending off, and then this is what gets lost. I don't get it.
I mean, Arch, for you, is that a straight red? Are you content with a yellow card there?
I think that's a red. The ball's away from him. He's like lunged out. His studs are up. He's in the air. These are ticking every single box for me to go, that's a red. And
that can really damage you.
And I think there was some footage, or someone said that Sakai after the game went to the Reds fans and said, look, I'm sorry for the tackle, or might have apologised to the players. Maybe I'm making this up. I don't know. But I heard that was the case. But I don't understand how a VAR is looking at the melee and not going, okay, you should be looking at that tackle. It's ridiculous to me.
And the VAR's usually looking at everything.
Yeah. And the Sakai's not a dirty player at all. And look, there's probably moments in a football match where you lose your head for a split second, because I don't see him making challenges like that very often. But
Yeah, well, let us know again in the comments. Was that a red?
Mate, that thing's going to blow up for sure.
Yeah, he did get a yellow, but the melee was what was reviewed on the VAR. We think that one should have been a red here at the download, that's for sure. I'll tell you what was a stun for all of us at home was Wellington getting their first win in Melbourne in 9 years. This is an unbelievable turnaround they've had under Chris Greenacre, guys. 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. We've got to talk about them because they've never beaten Melbourne City under the term Melbourne City. This is Khartoum's goal, and it's the first time in 9 years they've beaten Melbourne Victory, but I thought they were brilliant, Thomas.
I thought they fully deserved the win. Victory wasn't quite at the races that Wellington produced all their chances. Great to see a fellow Norwegian, or at least a Scandinavian, getting it on the score sheet. And he's been good. Like, he's come in, he's got a bit of experience, and I think him and Esse has got a good partnership up there. And I love what Greenacre has done. He's come in, he's changed the formation a little bit. He's playing 4-4-2. Najarin has come in and played a role, Nagasawa, and then they're just pretty solid. And then that's it's been a bit of a turnaround for them. And now I look at those 3 or 4 teams that could be in the playoffs, in the finals, and to me, they probably look at least one of the strongest.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So and they're playing well.
Yeah, I think the last 3 weeks especially amazing. They dictated the tempo of the game. Like, this is on Melbourne Victory's home patch, and they hadn't lost a game in 7. And looking at where Victory can jump on the ladder, you're thinking they're going to come out and really be on top of this side, but they in every facet of the game, Wellington were great. From possession to turning possession into an end product by maybe creating a chance. You said Eze's been great. I thought Corbin Piper, man, that guy.
He was electric.
Oh man,
I thought you made a great point as well in the broadcast, Arch, about and this is not to take anything away from Wellington, but Rufer had a field day. There was no real pressure on the ball. They weren't, and where Victory is sitting on the ladder, you thought they would have come out of the gates to try and push to get even further up and have a chance.
Yeah, well, this is what I was sort of looking from the manager's point of view on the bench. He was so frustrated because there wasn't any sort of flow to the defensive lines, where it's you're moving as one and trying to get up in the faces of the Wellington players where they weren't able to just easily pass.
Hasn't that been the story of Victory?
It's like
1 week they look like, they're a shoe-in for winning the grand final, and then the next week, all these questions and, where are they? And
oddly enough, that's what probably makes them dangerous in a final series. But the way they set up was like they were playing away from home almost, very pragmatic. And
they're coming off two 4-1 victories, two of them. And then
best form in the league.
Yeah, and one thing they did really good, and we talked about it in the game, was that they blocked up the middle of the park so Mata wasn't able to get on the ball. And he hurt his shoulder or his arm early on in the match. I think that really hampered him for the match. But the wide players weren't effective as they usually are. But credit to Wellington, I thought they were outstanding in every part of the game.
Yeah, Arch, because we want to talk about the top six, and we're going to have a little game here of predicting what's going to be very hard to predict with who will actually finish sixth. Now, we've got Macarthur sitting in 6 on 31 points, Wellington just below them, 1 point behind on 30, City on 29, Central Coast on 28. City and Central Coast, obviously the game's tomorrow night, so they've both got a game in hand as well.
Wow, it's a hard one. Look, if I could pick any of the teams, I can't pick one of them, to be honest. Like Macarthur, City, I don't think Central Coast.
Is it easy to say who won't make it?
Yeah, that's probably a bit better. And look, I'm a fan of where Central Coast are, and I hope they prove me wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. Maybe that their luck might have just run out a little bit coming the back end. But hey, football is a funny game. They could make the six and all the other ones go. It's simple as that.
Well, Thomas, I'll start with Melbourne City with you because we know they're your team. But are they a chance, do you think? Are you on Archie's side with the fact that Central Coast might not be a chance and City is?
I think City is definitely a much better chance. I still see them a bit vulnerable. We're going to touch on the game against Western Sydney, and they started really poorly. There are some things that are, pulling my mind in the wrong direction. But then, they for the first time in a long time managed to score a few goals, which was great. And Marcus Younis, Andreas Kuhn. Talks about Lecky being back in the next couple of weeks, which will be a massive boost as well. So, I can see Melbourne City moving in the right direction, and these two games, they've got Central Coast and then Wellington. If they win those two, there should be a shoe-in, but again, it's not a gimme.
Before I get Archie to get your opinion on the best January signings, as well as you, Thomas, just very quickly on Wellington. I mean, we talk about if Newcastle win this league, one of the great stories of the season. Wellington making the finals post-Chiefy. That's almost got to be up there as a potential story. Is that a reality with their run home? They obviously play City away, Western Sydney Wanderers at home, and Macarthur away. Relatively tough fixtures, but very gettable as well.
Yeah, if they perform like they did against Melbourne Victory, and it's going to be tough for them because they have to hold that intensity the way that they play for those 3 games. But the confidence they get from this Victory game, they're a good chance. I really was impressed with them. Like I said, the way they defended, the way they were comfortable on the ball with possession, they just need to keep doing the same.
Yep, guys. Well, now we've got to get into who's been the best January signings. Now, we're going to have our own opinions on this. For all those watching, let us know in the comments who you guys think, because we do want to hear what you have to say. There's actually quite a lot of options that have been performing quite well, which shows how important the January transfer window can be. Archie, we'll start with you. I mean, who stood out for you across, I guess, the wide variety of players that we can mention here? We've got Duke, we've got Ali Auglah, we've got Marcus Younis, we've got Ryan Fraser, just to name a few. There's more than that, though.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, look, there's been amazing contributions to players that have come in. Younis is a good one, but Auglah, I think, coming from the NPL and been sort of thrusted into this Central Coast side. I think he's added a lot of energy. He's added some goals. He looks comfortable. And he'll only get better in the environment. So he's probably one, but there's a lot that are really good.
Thomas?
Yeah, no, I love, the Marcus Younis story. I think, it's great to see. We obviously had an influx of players coming from abroad, trying to get in the Socceroos squad. He's struggled a little bit in Denmark and come back, but the energy, the power, the output, he's got 4 goals and 5 assists. He's produced in the Asian Champions League. And it'll be sadly missed for Melbourne City tomorrow, because I think you're looking at how the team plays. He's, probably more than Asani. You would have thought that he was the one, and Younis could probably play a part, but it's been the opposite.
He's the pick of the bunch.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
and he's, you're always looking for those January players to make an impact, and he's, in my view, he's probably made the biggest impact of all the players that we've seen signed. So. We'll see how they get on with him, without him tomorrow.
Yeah, surely Melbourne City's throwing the kitchen sink at getting that overturned, by the way. I mean, for how good his form has been, I mean, I don't see how he's going to miss that game based off that tackle.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the rules are, but if there is a slim of hope, of course you throw it in.
Yeah.
It might be short notice though. It's Easter,
Public holiday.
We're not working.
Out of office response.
Mate, in Australia, we do one thing really, really well, is we stick to our public holidays, mate.
You get that text back, we're out of the office until Wednesday.
Yeah.
But we played you.
I can compare that, Archie. There's absolutely no one on the road.
How good's that?
But I do want to mention Ryan Fraser. He's had 4 goals and 3 assists. I mean, he's been outstanding, because you think about the team he's come into as well, to a new country when it's in summer. He's been outstanding. So, I mean, if he was sort of in a team that was motoring and doing well, imagine what he's capable of. And I think we've got to give an honourable mention to Charles Nduka too. 3 goals, 2 assists. He's added a real dimension.
Are you trying to get him back in his... trying to get in the good books?
Hey, for those watching Sooner and Boot, what's up? He said, we asked, hey, ChatGPT, you need a good-looking striker with a Rolex. And it's about out Charles Nduka, but he, in all seriousness, he's been brilliant, hasn't he, Archie?
Yeah, no, he's been good. But this is the funny thing about Melbourne Victory is with that 9 role, is that when maybe Nduka's kind of slipping in form or doesn't look as influential in a game, Vergus comes on and lights it up. Then he gets to start, and then he'll start for a few, but then the form will dip, and then Nduka. So it's, I think he's done well when he's there. Just a bit more consistency, I would say.
Yeah.
From both of them.
Oh,
guys.
yeah, I agree. I agree, definitely. We've got to talk about what was a big change. We're not necessarily going to talk about Ufuk Talay going to the other side, but we are going to spend some time talking about Patrick Kisnorbo. Thomas, maybe we'll just quickly start on the 0-0 draw, because somewhat a relatively even game when it came to possession, but the front third was kind of, not really apparent for Sydney FC in this one.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit subdued the first start. Yeah, I think, Brisbane will be really disappointed not winning this one. They had that golden chance late on, but I thought in general they had by far the most chances. Kisnorbo made a few changes, a few of the young players. Champasano was on the bench, Kispe was on the bench. So there was he tried to throw a few young players in there, but it'll be interesting to see what he'll be judged on. They've got obviously a great chance for finals. Look to be in finals. What do you think, Archie? What is the KPI? What does he? He's obviously signed until the end of the season. But
well, to your point, Thomas, what does he have to do to keep his job? Is that your question?
Yeah. Oh,
it's very weird that an interim sort of set up for a person of Kisnorbo's quality in the league.
To see what actually, what is the deal? Because in my mind, if I was Kisnorbo, I wouldn't sign on if I knew that I was very limited. Had a limited chance to get the gig next year. So surely he's been given some sort of criteria that say, okay, if you get this or if you do this, okay, we'll give you whatever, a 2-year deal or something after.
Yeah, well, I feel like that he needs to probably go deep into the finals and have a good run, and then see where it happens. Maybe you're right in saying that they've already had the conversation with him, saying this is the what you need to do. But watching that Sydney FC team, and like they keep saying that they are great on paper. There's some good footballers there, but I watch their football and I'm like, I feel like they're lucky to be in a finals position. That game against Brisbane was. That was a hard watch. It wasn't the prettiest of games. But then I don't think Sydney has been at a level where I've seen them in the past, and they're very, very lucky to be in a finals position for me. And that might be where PK gets that chance to go, well, what I can do in this short period of time, make them competitive and see how far I go into the finals.
Need Joe Lolly.
But that's the thing. I mean, you talk about Juan Mata at victory. You take him out, you take Joe Lolly out at Sydney. It shouldn't have that much of an effect.
Yeah.
But it seems like it changes everything. And that, whether that comes back to coaching, it's the direction and style of play. It's sometimes it's harder on the eye with, particularly Sydney in that case. My theory with the Patrick Kisnorbo thing is though, outside of John Aloisi, he's probably the most credible coach you can get to come into your team. So if you're not giving him a long-term deal, I think they're looking overseas for a coach.
Yeah.
But Thomas, you had an argument this morning. Well, why would a coach at that level come in and just commit to that short-term period? So I guess that's the debate. What we're going to go here, but.
Yeah. Maybe, look, I love if he's just backing himself and hasn't been given any guarantees, and he says, you know what, I feel with this squad, with what I've done in the past and everything else, I can come in and turn this around, or at least, have a great run and potentially a grand final win. But it doesn't look like, I agree with you, Archie. I think there's just pieces missing, and Lolly, is obviously a big piece.
Just quickly before we get on the Ninja A-Leagues, Archie, is there an obvious change for Sydney FC just to go up a gear in these last few games for you, just to take them sort of out of the run-of-the-mill performances and actually fulfil their potential?
It's hard for me to see it at the moment. What they can do, I think they just need to start getting results. Look a bit more confident and have some kind of structure. It'd be hard for PK to come in a short period and try to turn something around. But what PK can do is bring the energy out of players and really get the best from them, as we've seen through Melbourne City, that short time at Melbourne victory. But man, they need to turn a lot of things around for that to be competitive in finals football.
Yeah, well said.
But they've got experienced players too. So.
Well, they do, right? All over the park. And they've got some great young ones as well. We can't forget about them. Let's get into the Ninja A-Leagues, because an Alicia Woods Olympico and a 94th minute save, I should say, from goalkeeper Chloe Lincoln have propelled Brisbane into the Ninja A-League finals, which is going to be coming to you in a couple of weeks' time. Lincoln, who's played 2 games in the Asian Cup and used to play for Canberra, saved a penalty in the 94th minute. This is the Alicia Woods Olympico. Yeah, absolutely incredible. We're seeing all Olympicos all over the place, guys.
Yeah, and it shows you make it hard for the keeper. You've sort of condensed that area, and it is hard. But this is obviously the penalty.
Thomas, take us through this. Here's the penalty. Let's have a look at.
You know what? It's a great save.
Yeah.
Everyone will say perfect height and everything else, but she guessed right, and it's a keeper in confidence. Having played at the Asian Cup, I thought she did well, and again, will be very important for Brisbane going into finals.
Yeah, and congratulations to Brisbane on making finals. They're going to be playing Adelaide in the elimination final, Archie, at Spencer Park on the 25th of April, which, oddly enough, the Matildas have a FIFA series in Kenya coming up, and the young Matildas have an Asian Cup in Thailand. So they're on international duty, which is why there's a bit of a delay. But the final series will start on the 25th and 26th of April, elimination finals, followed by 2-legged semi-finals and a grand final. So I believe we've got Melbourne City and Wellington who are already sitting in the semi-finals. Well, for everyone who watches the download every week, you know that the fan questions are one of the main parts of the show, the A-League downloads. We put up a story every Sunday on the A-League channels, so you can ask me and the panel any questions you like. We have some pearlers today, and this one is from another, curly account here, C.1.B311. Reveal yourself. What's going on here?
It's all burnout.
Why do they have such an alias? Like they're in the CIA. Could we see a new rivalry brewing between Auckland and Adelaide, guys? This is obviously, subject from the heated push and shove after the Sakai tackle. We saw Gallegos going hard at a couple of players as well. What do we feel on that one? Yeah,
there was something early in the season as well. Again, the more rivalries we can get, it's hard to call it it's a rivalry at this point in time. I think they're both, good teams competing at the top. They've got fiery managers, and you know what? It's been tight games. So it's always been on a knife's edge, I think, this season. And it's great viewing.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I don't know, rivalry.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I totally agree with
If
that.
I was Adelaide, I'd be trying to make it one.
Yeah.
Of course.
Good for business.
Yeah,
right? So, and Auckland they do get a relatively good travelling crowd. Archie, I kind of want us to actually jump into this next one and have a real chat on, because this is from Jake on Insta, not me, by the way, even though I've just said I want us to have a chat on it. But are Melbourne Victory too reliant on Juan Mata? You speak of Sydney FC having some of these performances where it looks like it's not clear what they're doing. It's a bit below par of the standard of players they got. I sometimes throw Melbourne Victory in that bracket as well if Juan Mata's not at his best.
But yeah, I would say so. I think over the last month or so, the performances of Mata have helped Melbourne Victory to win games. Like, there's no doubt about it. I don't think there's been any other player in there that's been as influential as he. So if he's not getting the ball as the game against Wellington, he didn't, so they didn't create too much. So I think they are reliant on him big time.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, why we've seen it.
Yeah, well, that's why you bring him in, right?
Like, bring it on. The more he can help the team, and he has been instrumental. The only thing on the other side of that is just to hope he doesn't go down with an injury or anything, because he has been great.
Thanks for coming in, guys. Good to be back after a break. Happy Easter to you all, to everyone at home. Thank you for all your fan questions, your likes, your comments, and all the support you've had on the show. That is all from us this week at the A-League's Download, presented by Isuzu Ute. We'll see you next week.